No car seat, no helmet, no check-ins. You were just out there. And somehow that made you one of the most psychologically resilient people alive today. Here's what science says actually happened to kids who grew up in the 1970s, and why it left a mark that most people never fully recognize. The 1970s were the first decade where family breakdown became a visible cultural event. Divorce rates didn't just rise, they doubled. Millions of children didn't read about instability in textbooks, they lived it on a Tuesday at dinner in silence. Developmental researchers studying this period identified something they called early emotional responsibility. Children who stepped into roles that should have belonged to adults, not because they were asked, but because the adults around them were already at capacity. From the outside, those kids looked remarkably mature. On the inside, many felt profoundly alone. And here's what's important to understand. When a child learns to manage an adult's emotional world before they've even figured out their own, they don't just grow up faster. They internalize a belief that their needs are an inconvenience, that asking for help is a burden, that self-sufficiency isn't a skill, it's survival. Decades later, that belief shows up looking exactly like a personality trait. It isn't, it's armor. But here's where the story shifts, because that same generation, the one navigating fractured homes and emotionally stretched parents, was also experiencing something that child psychology now considers extraordinarily valuable: unstructured freedom. You left the house and disappeared for hours. Nobody tracked you, nobody scheduled your afternoon. You built something, broke something, got into an argument, resolved it, and came home when the streetlights came on. Research into child-led unstructured play shows it builds something that structured environments simply cannot replicate: the ability to tolerate uncertainty. You learned early that not everything resolves cleanly, that some problems don't have adult supervision coming to fix them, and so you developed a psychological muscle that many people spend their entire adult lives trying to build in therapy. You can sit inside uncertainty without falling apart. There was something else happening in the background, quietly shaping your worldview. Trust in institutions collapsed in real time during the 1970s. Political scandal, economic pressure, a war that ended badly. Children don't need to understand these events to absorb them. They feel the emotional temperature of the adults around them. What that produced in an entire generation wasn't cynicism. It was something more useful: calibrated skepticism. A quiet built-in radar for when something doesn't add up. An instinct, not an ideology. You didn't inherit blind faith, and that has served you well. Here is the part that often gets missed. People who grew up in environments of genuine unpredictability tend to form deeper attachments, not fewer, because they learned early that connection isn't guaranteed. So when someone shows up consistently, you feel it at a level others simply don't. Your loyalty isn't casual. Your friendships aren't performative. The relationships you've held for decades have weight to them, because you know in a way you never had to be taught that not everything stays. When something does, you hold it carefully. What shaped you wasn't just the decade, it was the specific combination of loss, freedom, and reality, unfiltered. That doesn't make the hard parts okay, but it does make you something worth understanding.